Welcome to another Draw 7 TV video here on the Draw 7 YouTube page. Matt with you, and flying solo again here on this tabletop matchup. So glad to have you along. And by the way, before we get started, just want to say thank you to all of you that have checked out some of our live streams and have hung out with us on there. It's always a blast to talk to you live in person on there, and at least it's in person for me anyway. I can't see you, but Corey's showing off his hand, and I didn't get a great look at it. Not sure if it's a good hand or a bad hand. I would assume a good hand. And let's get the match started here. So we've got TurtonatorGX versus DecidueyeVileplume, and yeah, it looks like a great turn here for Corey. Gets the first Decidueye out now with the Forest of Giant Plants, gets that Dartrix set up on the bench, and then is able to Sycamore. He only Sycamores away a Gloom, so a great start there. And there's a second Decidueye on turn one, and I'm sure Caden right now is thinking, oh great, here we go. That quick turn one for this grass deck with that Forest of Giant Plants. Corey does get down the Oddish onto the bench off of that level ball, and we'll see if he tries to do the item lock turn one or if he holds off. He does get the Gloom down now, so it looks like almost a perfect start for Corey here on the right-hand side. And, of course, Caden playing this TurtonatorGX deck. Not sure if he has any other Pokemon included in this deck or if it's just straight Turtonator. Again, if you've seen any of our other live tabletop matches, I don't look at deck lists beforehand. Trainer's Mail there from Corey. Looks like Corey is going to grab a Float Stone, I believe. When it attaches the end, he meant to grab the Float Stone there. And we'll put it there on the Gloom. So a turn one, 2 Decidueye, gets a Gloom down with a Float Stone. Couldn't ask for more here. Would be interested to see if he can get Vileplume out or not. Sets down a second Oddish just in case Caden later in the game Lysanders up this Gloom and Vileplume and knocks it out. 2 Feather Arrows there from Corey, and he will put both of them on the active Pokemon. So 40 damage there on the TurtonatorGX. All right. Caden now grabs an energy from hand, puts it on the benched Turtonator, decides now to put it on the active, will Ultra Ball away 2 fire energy. Of course, getting ready for that Nitro Tank GX attack from Turtonator, which is a fantastic attack. Something that I want to incorporate into my Incineroar deck. You can take 5 fire energy from your discard and put it onto your Pokemon in any way you like. Such a cool GX stack, only for 1 energy too, so very strong. Caden goes and sets down a VolcanionEX. Makes sense for this deck, especially with that ability on Volcanion with a Steam Up. Discard an energy card from your hand, a fire energy card that is. Get 30 more damage on your active Pokemon's attack. All right, Tapu Lele GX down now. We'll search his deck for a supporter card. Looks to grab a Lily, so could see a turn 1 Lily here, which will allow him to draw up to 8 cards on his first turn. Should be interesting to see how Lily comes into play as we move forward into the format, at least standard. Could be interesting to see if that card really does make any big changes to the game as we move forward. I think it's a great card, especially if you can do what Caden did here with that turn 1. All right, so he does play the Lily, gets up to 8 cards in his hand. Let's see if he decides to do anything else here. He will be item locked more than likely on this next turn. Does have a Fighting Fury Belts in hand, Max Elixir as well. Gets it off the top deck. We'll put it on the Turtonator on the bench. Even though he only has a few of the fire energy in the discard, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if he Nitro Tank GX here on this next turn, especially if he gets item locked here. Another Max Elixir and another top deck, so there you go. And by rule, you are supposed to shuffle your deck after the Max Elixir is used, even if you top deck it there. So 3 energies on this turn, which is good for Caden since the item lock will more than likely happen here on this next turn. He's able to get these Turtonators set up pretty darn quick. So we'll see what he decides to do here. Yeah, he goes ahead and uses the TurtonatorGX, which does actually make a lot of sense. That was actually something that I was considering looking at his board state right now. So he does get those 2 energies from his discard, puts 1 on the active, and gets that Turtonator on the bench set up as well. I would assume Volcanion's in here just for that steam up ability. Lysander from Corey, which will bring up that VolcanionEX, and then we'll use Feather Arrow. I'm assuming both of them on the Turtonator on the bench. He does. Doesn't look like he can get that Vileplume out, so that's a fairly big deal here. So Caden gets another turn to use items, which can really help him set up a little bit further here. Puts that Fighting Fairy Belt down on the TurtonatorGX with the already 40 damage on it. Steams up. Gets some 1 energy down now on the active VolcanionEX. Thankful for Caden here. He does get another turn to use those items. VS Seekers, I'm assuming for Lily, and we'll grab a couple of cards. Up to 6 cards. Gets that Fighting Fury Belt down on that Turtonator. And Escape Rope now. So it looks like Corey will promote that Oddish. And here comes this Turtonator, which will hit for enough there with the weakness. Corey brings Gloom up now. Caden draws a card. Wasn't sure. I'm not real sure what he got off of that. Here's a Shaman for up to 6 cards. Gets the Meowth, puts a DCE down on that. Here's a Level Ball. Is he going to go for another Rowlet, I would assume? It's off camera there. I would assume that's what he's going for. I doubt he runs more than 2 Oddish in his deck. I mean, it's possible. Corey will play the in. All right, so let's look at the board state here. Corey got a great first turn. Has yet to get that Vileplume out, which, you know, is here nor there. He would definitely love to get that out on this turn. Would have loved to get it out on last turn, really. But so he's looking for that now. I believe that's Rowlet down there off camera. We did change the camera up a little bit for these matches. I didn't have as much room to play with, so we're a little bit closer in on to the play mats. All right, let's see if Corey can get that Vileplume off of this in. Definitely would want that, or at least an Ultra Ball, something like that. There's a Trainer's Mail there. Luckily for Caden, though, he was able to get set up really, really well with that TurtonatorGX and all that on that first turn. So he's not necessarily too worried about the item lock at this point. I mean, he's still going to be hitting pretty hard. Really, it's just Energy Mover now that he needs. Trainer's Mail there from Corey. Grabs an Ultra Ball. Here's a second Trainer's Mail now. We'll see what he ends up and grabs off of that. And grabs the Lysander off of the Trainer's Mail there. So what he could do here, even though Tapu Lele only has a 1 energy retreat cost, which is another reason to play Tapu Lele in your deck, he could Lysander that up. May want to Lysander that Volcanion up, though, with 3 retreat costs there. And it would take Caden a couple of turns to get that Volcanion out of the active. So Corey has Vileplume in hand now. Looked like he was going to set it down, but decides to discard it with Ultra Ball. He discards a DCE as well. Looks like he's going to grab that DecidueyeGX. So Corey may be considering not using the Vileplume as early in the game as he normally would, unless he does have another one. I believe he does have an Ultra Ball in hand, though. Dartrix and Decidueye, and okay, so he did have another Vileplume, so gets that Dartrix Decidueye set up, and the Vileplume is also set up now. Retreats the Vileplume, brings up Meowth, and will hit that Turtonator on the bench with the damage. So 110, 130 on the TurtonatorGX on the bench. All right, so items are locked out. Caden, of course, could Hex Maniac here if he had that option. amongst a few other things. All right, so he will set that energy down. Corey, assuming he's going to knock out the Meowth. There's a Sycamore there. We'll draw 7 cards. TurtonatorGX, a very cool card, a basic Pokemon GX, so you can put a Fighting Fury Belt on it to give him pretty high HP, all things considered. Sets out Altar of the Sun. And we'll use that second attack, which gets rid of the 2 energies, but knocks out the Meowth for a prize card. Here's the Force of Giant Plants out now from Corey. We'll Lysander up that Volcanion, which is a good move, considering that Volcanion's retreat cost is so high. One of the more negative aspects of the card, unless you do have an Escape Rope or something, which Caden can't play because of the Vileplume lock. So Corey can get 60 damage here with the Decidueyes. It looks like he put it all on the TurtonatorGX on the bench. He does, but has a Fighting Fury Belt on there, so Caden won't lose that one yet. Caden could somehow Hex Maniac here, and then Escape Rope. That would be excellent. Of course, his Vileplume Decidueye deck, very strong, very good. Caden will actually just pass here, can't do much. Will in. I believe Corey didn't have a hand there, so now Corey will get a fresh set of cards in hand, as will Caden. So Caden now looking, I would assume, for some way to retreat that Volcanion, which that Turtonator on the bench will be knocked out this turn with Feather Arrow. Can't tell what Caden got there. It looked like he got a Sycamore, maybe a Super Rod as well. Not really going to help him at this point. And, yeah, the Turtonator will go down here on that Feather Arrow. That Feather Arrow attack is just not an attack, but an ability. It's just so strong. So that will be knocked out. Corey will take 2 prizes. Grabs the Tapu Lele, sets it down. Didn't see what Corey got off of the Tapu Lele there. Another interesting thing here, Corey doesn't have any energy down on any of his Pokemon, and there's one right there. There's the grass energy down, so we'll maybe think about attacking later. Something else, Corey's at a disadvantage here with the weakness. Of course, weak to fire, so Caden in many respects could get, one-shot knockouts here on any of his Pokemon. Top deck's a Max Elixir, which ain't going to do anything, so Caden will just Professor Sycamore his hand away. Corey taking a look now at his discard. So Caden essentially could attach an energy here, get a knockout on this Vileplume, which is probably what he's going to do. Yeah, it does set that energy down. Does have that one Turtonator with 1 energy down on the bench. So items are open now. Volcanion takes that knockout. Corey will promote that Tapu Lele. Thought about playing the Revitalizer there. Force of Giant Plants is still active, so could possibly get that Vileplume set up again. Fighting Fairy Belt gone now with the Field Blower. Of course, one of the new cards from the Guardian Rising set. One of the best cards from the Guardian Rising set. Shaman now for 2 cards. Items are available now. There's an Ultra Ball from Corey. Could just be searching his deck here, see what he has left. Not sure what else he'd be looking for. I think he's already discarded both his Vileplumes. He does have that Revitalizer in hand, but not sure if he has a way to get that set back up or not, or if he even really needs to at this point. I think he does, but either way, so we'll see if he grabs anything off this Ultra Ball, and he will grab another Rowlet, so Corey appears to be running a 4-4 line, I would assume, of Decidueye. Again, I haven't looked at the deck list, so I'm not entirely sure there. DCE down on the Tapu Lele will hit for 20, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 if he attacks there with the Tapu Lele. Okay, so he's also going to be doing the Feather Arrow here. So he puts all that on the Volcanion. So 120, 160, just shy of a knockout on Volcanion. TurtonatorGX gets powered up with another energy there. Ultra Ball here from Caden. We'll get rid of In and a Sycamore. Be interested to see what he goes for here. Maybe another Turtonator. Indeed it is. So he grabs a Turtonator off the Ultra Ball and sets it down. Caden only has 3 prizes left. Corey has 4 left. So still a pretty close matchup. Very interesting matchup as well. I think this TurtonatorGX deck is really cool and definitely possibly playable here in the future for sure. Shaman for 3 gets a, or for 4, excuse me, gets Escape Rope, Max Elixir, Floatstone as well. So Floatstone's the Volcanion. If only he had a way to get that damage off of the Volcanion, that would be sweet. Of course, my favorite card in the game is Max Potion. I've said that plenty of times, I'm sure. Decides to move the Floatstone down to Turtonator on the bench. We'll Escape Rope here, so bringing that one up and then floating it back to Volcanion, which resets the ability and gets this knockout on the Shaman. Which I don't think he's actually taken the knockout yet. I think Corey was just assuming he was going to do that. Gets energy down there on the Max Elixir to the Turtonator on the bench, so it looks like that one's fully set up now. So Corey has to really consider here what he's going to do. He's going to take a knockout on this Volcanion next turn. Caden only has 1 prize left, though. And
20 for knockout.
Yeah, there's the knockout there on the Volcanion active with Feather Arrow. All right, guys, so this is going to be an interesting finish here. I would assume Caden will bring up that Turtonator on the bench because it's just going to be sniped anyway. It does have the Floatstone on it. And he actually opts to bring up the Tapu Lele, which isn't necessarily a bad play either. Choices here. Ultra Ball there from Corey gets rid of a Lugia and a Floatstone. Corey's deck's getting down to 5 or 6 cards, it looks like here. Which isn't surprising for this Decidueye deck. You do get a lot of cards out early in this deck. Grabs a Dartrix, and I believe he still has that Rowlet on the bench. We can't see it with the camera angle the way it is, but I believe so. Could be wrong, but... And actually, maybe he doesn't. I can't see any of the tips of the cards there, so... either way, all right, so Tapu Lele versus Tapu Lele. Feather Arrows, the Turtonator on the bench. Not sure what he was doing there. I think he was looking at the Turtonator, the other Turtonator. There's Rowlet. Doesn't have a Forest of Giant Plants out, though, so will not be able to evolve here as he normally would. Looks like Feather Arrow, 40 onto that Turtonator, and then 40 damage to the Tapu Lele in the active. All right, Caden top decks a Fighting Fury Belt, it looks like there. Is going to Fuel Blower his own tool and Stadium away, which is something that I've been playing with in Mega Mewtwo, and then adding Choice Bands to the Mega Mewtwo once I have the Spirit Links off. Gets another Altar of the Sun out, and will Sycamore here for 7 cards. And I think Caden at this point looking for a way to get that Tapu Lele out of the active spot, which I'm not sure if he's... okay, Energy Retrieval. So he hadn't attached for turn yet, so he does get that Tapu Lele out of there. Turtonator. And yeah, game right there. So, wow. Great move there from Caden. Great game from Corey. What a fun experience this game was. Back and forth, and that's what type of games we like to see here on Draw 7 TV. Thanks for joining us. Make sure and like, subscribe to our channel, and we shall see you next time.